Hi there, welcome to the Die House Drumworks. Going to have a little look here at some introductions to playing Samba drums today. Samba drum kit, should I say. The music of Brazil, kind of more specific, very specifically kind of the capital city, Rio de Janeiro, is sort of associated with this music. The basis in terms of the drum kit really, to get started, we need to think that Samba's in 2/4. It's almost kind of a march feel. When we think of the carnivals that we see from places like Rio, it is very much a street dance, street march dance kind of vibe. And that's really where the 2/4 thing comes from. If you think of like a left, right kind of movement, almost like in a traditional march, that's really where a lot of this feel is coming from. The heartbeat rhythm of this pattern is very important, and it's generated by the bass drum, and it's again something that's very, very specific to Samba music and needs to be there almost to make the music what it is. The pattern would be 1, a 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2. And that's going to pump away pretty much through the whole track. Obviously, it's quite a bass drum heavy sort of sounding pattern. So one of the benefits that we're gonna achieve from learning to play Samba music is developing the bass drum technique really, getting movements on the pedal. I use a slight twist, pivoting around the ball with the foot on the pedal to achieve that. This is often sort of counterbalanced with the hi-hat on the offbeat. One of the things you'll notice is that once you get that going, you've almost got a rhythm happening just with the feet. So another one of the great benefits of learning a lot of Latin styles, and especially Samba, is that we've got the very, very strong pedal. Term that we might use would be an ostinato pattern or motif. It's like a small repeating pattern that we can then open up a little bit more and improvise with the hands over the top of. So the way to sort of develop this kind of feel, very, very simple from the ground up first. Get the pedals going first. Go for consistency and relaxedness, and then start thinking about adding very, very simple top end parts. So it doesn't need to be complicated. So things like basic 8th notes on the ride cymbal. Real nice and gentle, don't worry about going at breakneck speed. There are different variations of sort of sub-style of Samba, and some of them are a little bit more laid back. Also, I would think about, for instance, 16th notes. So this is where the coordination starts coming in, because if we're playing right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left over the top, we're going to have bass drums falling under right hands and left hands. The hi-hat's going to be falling under the right hand, but there's a little bit of a sort of coordination aspect that comes into that. Moving on from the 8th notes on the ride, if we put offbeats on the snare, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, we're going to get a nice texture over the top of the kick and pedal hi-hat part. So it also, with that sort of movement, it sort of alludes to the march aspect again. You can hear the snare drum in there, sort of creating a slightly more march kind of feel rather than a sort of pop rock kind of feel, which again makes most of the music sound a little bit more authentic. Straight 16th notes on the snare can work well as well. Again, sounding much more like a sort of it's got a movement that we could dance to and pulse to. Really, beyond that, to start off with, we want to then start trying to build up a sense of being able to improvise with the hands over the pedals a little bit. Again, start very simply with this. When we listen to this music, the rhythmic complexity is often built from the fact that there are many players playing the rhythm. So even if we listen to, well, if we see a street samba band, there could be 20 drummers playing. So there's a lot going on, there's a lot of layers of rhythm. So we don't want to try and jump at that straight away. Get the pedals really comfortable and build up from a very, very simple standpoint. So what I'm going to do is maybe start, just going to play a few, play for a little while over that ostinato, the pedal ostinato, and just start improvising with the hands in a very gentle sense to start off with, to give you some ideas to get started rather than listing loads of exercises. So here we go. Snare drum rudiments over the top. I think really with 16th notes, one of the ways to approach how to develop the improvising is to think 16ths and accent in different ways and accent in different sort of rhythmic figures. So for instance, I started off with a lot of right hand accents, it tends to be a little bit more accessible. Then think, well, okay, if I can do right hand, let's do some left hand accents. Accenting in groups of 4, accenting in groups of 3, so we get a cross rhythmic thing. Also using triplets a little bit later on too. Introducing the 4 time over the top of that creates another sort of street samba effect, which is similar to the sound that we get from a surdo, which when you watch street samba bands play, it's the whacking great big drum. It's almost like a bass drum, but it's very, very deep as well, so it's got a tom-tom sort of effect. And we can drop that on main counts in the bar, and it sort of gives the drum kit a little bit more of a percussive edge. Another sort of ostinato to run alongside those pedals, which works nice for the drum kit more. What I've tried to do with that last demonstration is make it a little bit more like a street samba sort of style. But there are a lot of sort of more almost jazz versions of sort of the samba feel, where we think of the drum set rather than percussion instruments. So for instance, if we move on to the hi-hats, we do the same sort of thing as we're doing on the snare, keeping the bass drum in that heartbeat rhythm. 16th notes on the hats, but move around with the accenting, develop the accenting. Moving to the ride cymbal, there's a nice sort of, let's say another ostinato rhythm, another repetitive pattern which works over the top of that. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. So it's actually playing over the top of all the pedal beats that we've established there. Compared to the snare drum, much more in your face from the snare when we play the 16ths. When we go onto the hi-hats and the cymbals, we get something that sounds a little bit more drum kit oriented, and that's going to make a bit more room for the melodic content and harmonic content that we might get in more of a quartet or quintet or trio sort of lineup, rather than a whacking great big street samba band where it's all about the drums. So there's 2 distinct approaches that we can take here. So again, building from the ride cymbal part, the left hand working over those ostinatos. So quite a tricky one, that. A lot going on rhythmically there to challenge the left hand. But again, I think another great way of developing that level of coordination is to sit down and tab it out. Tab out the patterns, see how things, how the hands and feet are working together and where all the cross stick beats or snare drum beats working amongst the pedals and the ride cymbal there. You'll probably find that once you get through sort of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 different variations there, that you can cross those variations over a little bit more easily. So it's difficult in the outset, but as your coordination opens up into that, it does actually start getting easier, and you will find you'll be able to improvise with those core ideas. So good luck with that.